Story time. So in my last story about Graffiti and me and finishing that whole thing up, I mentioned that there'll be like kind of another part that's related, but it's not specifically like a Graffiti and me story. But this is the story about the only time that I did in any type of correctional facility. There are some things that I did in my youth before the graffiti stuff that were still vandalism related, that was just silly things that you know, I had gotten charges for or whatever, but I never at any point did any length of time in a correctional facility. I mentioned during the Graffiti and me stories that, like, oh, you know, like, you get busted doing something, it's at night, you go to the drunk tank or the underground cells and you hang out until the next morning. They take you to court. In court, you sit there and wait, and then they're like, okay, here's your undertaking. Like, you get released on your own undertaking of your own recognizance or whatever it's called. Here's your conditions of your release. You have a curfew now, and there's whatever, you're gonna come back to court at this time and day, blah 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 blah, and that's it. Which was anxiety inducing enough of just like being in that space. I think I mentioned some of the particulars in one of those stories about like underground cells in Saskatoon. Anyway, it's like super cold, it's just like hard cement. You get you know, you have your own little cell, but there's like a whole bunch of cells in that same area. People are friggin' drunk and high and like screaming, and it's just not fun. You get like a rubber mat that's like a centimeter thick and a sheet, just like one sheet. I think I've been underground cells 3 times in my life, and again, only overnight, but it's just like, oh my goodness, it's just the worst. I probably didn't sleep more than an hour each time. Like, I just couldn't sleep ever. In the morning, you get some McDonald's, get a little McDonald's breakfast there, and then you get on your way to, a bunch of you go in a van and you go to court. But anyway, this is a story about the only time I spent in a correctional facility. I never did as a youth, and the last time that I went to underground cells, well, this is the story. This is what happened. So I was already after the time I got ratted out for graffitis. You know, there wasn't any consequence that day of me having to go to correctional or anything like that. There was a bunch of other conditions and curfew and community service hours and all this other stuff. But there was nothing about, you know, I didn't have to do any time for that at all. Doing time, it's like, so, like, a little dramatic, but I mean, just the vernacular, I guess. Anyway, so one of my conditions was curfew, like 10 o'clock. But I never listened to curfew ever, because like, I wasn't, I mean, at that time, like, I wasn't doing anything that I felt was risky. I wasn't doing anything illegal during the time I was not following curfew. Like, if it was past 10 o'clock, it's not like I was out there tagging during that time of the probation that I'm talking about right now. I was just hanging out with friends, or going to Tim Hortons, or going for a cruise or something. So like, whatever, they don't check up on you at home. So it was just kind of like, I'll just go and hang out, and it was never a problem any other time I had curfew. Obviously, foreshadowing, it was a problem this time. So my roommate Johnny and I, we lived together in this basement suite, and I remember that Deftones were supposed to be playing this one weekend. I don't remember the year this was, 2009, maybe? No, it wouldn't be 2009, 2007, or I think, 2007. I had tickets to go see the Deftones, and then they canceled the show, and then just went to Regina instead. So that sucked. I found out like a day before or something. Anyway, so the night of the concert, that was supposed to be, Johnny was like, you know what, let's just like go out, let's just go to Tim Hortons or something, like let's just hang out and get out of here and stuff. So then that's what we did. He had this real beat up white Sunfire, yeah, it had a bunch of dents in it and stuff. Anyway, so we just went to the Tim Hortons on Cumberland and 8th and hung out and just whatever. And then we just like, yeah, just chilled, talked, had some donuts or something. And then we were leaving, and we turned onto Cumberland right out of the parking lot. And then we got pulled over. So, yeah, we got pulled over because apparently Johnny's vehicle looked stolen. Like, how does it look stolen? I mean, just because it looks like crap, how does that make it look stolen? People own vehicles that have dents in them. I don't know. Apparently that's why they pulled us over. And the one officer recognized, out of all the officers or whatever, recognized me, ran my name and stuff. Well, I mean, they got both of our IDs anyway. I like, it's one of those dumb things again where I'm like, man, I wish that I just had been like, no, I don't have my ID on me, gave him some fake name. I don't know, but I don't know. The consequences of that would have been maybe harsher if I did that. Whatever. So he kind of recognized me. It was weird, but he ran my name anyway because he had my ID, and then knew that I had this curfew. I don't remember what time it was, but again, we weren't doing anything. We were just at Tim Hortons. That was it. But I was out past curfew, so they took me with them because I was breaking curfew, and that was part of my conditions, my probation. So anyway, that sucked. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I don't know. It just never happened before. And yeah, so they took me back to some underground cells there, and I waited court in the morning. And this time, you know, this is like the third time I've been in that space. I wasn't as anxious, and I was like, hey, whatever, nothing's gonna happen. I'm just gonna go to court in the morning, and they're gonna be like, hey, don't break curfew, and then, you know, that's it. I had like friends who had like broken their probation so many times, and I never had before then, or I'd never been caught for breaking my probation before then, because I would never had done anything else illegal that I got caught for within the time that I ever had a probation. So I was just like, I just wasn't too worried about it, and it really sucked, but I was like, whatever, I'll just go to court in the morning, and that'll be it. Like, it's not going to be a big deal, don't worry about it. And I get to court in the morning, and then they say, oh, actually, you have like so many charges, because like, I don't remember if I explained this before. I think I did, but with all the, yeah, I just totally did. Whatever, I had like 80 charges, which in the scheme of like tagging stuff isn't that much over the course of that period of time, but it's still 80 charges, and it's just like, go back and watch, I think it was the last video I mentioned, it's like, it's just such a different crime. It's not like 80 assaults in a way, like, oh, it's like assaulting a building, but I mean like, it's like if you were shoplifting and you stole, you know, a whole bunch of candy and, I don't know, just small stuff you can fit in your pocket, but you had a bunch of them, but it was just like one trip, right? Like, that's kind of what it's like. It's like, oh, I can go and tag like 30 things in one night, easy. That's not difficult to do. It's like 30 things could be one trip, right? Anyway, but the Crown Prosecutor was like, oh, you have so many charges that we don't want to let you out. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't say what. I didn't really get an opportunity to speak. It was just like, I was just like, I like, what do you mean? Like, you want to send me to correctional first? Like, I'm already on the track to being punished for this. I am already being, like, I'd already done, I think, my community service at that point. I just had curfew. Like, I was just riding out my probation until it was over. I hadn't done anything else, so why would I get punished? Like, the only thing I had done was go to Tim Hortons with a buddy past 10 o'clock at night. That's all that I did. So I was just kind of like really blown away and didn't know what to say or do or how to fight back in that scenario. Like, it was just, I thought it was ridiculous. Like, if you're concerned about how many charges I have, then why didn't you sentence me to go to correctional when you sentenced me for the crimes of those charges, right? Like, I don't know, it didn't make any sense. I was in shock. They said that I'd be going to correctional. They didn't know for how long, but that in 1 week I would come back to court, and then they would tell me, like, okay, you're actually going to be in correctional for a while or whatever. So that obviously upped my anxiety as well. Yeah, so that sucked. So I was just like, I was in shock. I was in crazy anxiety. I don't remember when I got to use the phone and tell somebody what happened. I don't know if it was right away or if it was was later on. I really don't recall. So yeah, I got loaded into a van and driven off to Saskatoon Correctional Facility. I don't remember all the details, but I mean, like, I was in overflow, so they have I think more than one overflow, but it's an area where, like, there at Saskatoon Correctional, I'm sure other facilities, they categorize based on the severity of your crime as to like what kind of block you would go into and what kind of area. And I was in overflow, which meant like I wasn't in a category. I was just there with other people in overflow, and I don't know why. I don't know if it was because, like, the name suggests that it is an area because they were overflowing in other areas. Like, I don't know if that's what it was. I really don't. But there was like, I don't know, 15-ish people in overflow. There were 2 different rooms. So I don't know how to describe the first part because I don't remember it that well. But we go in, and then there's like, whatever, there's a bunch of stuff I didn't really get to see. It was just main hallways. And then there was like an area that we came to which had like a door that was like barred. And then there was like a little bubble kind of there with like an office for the I don't know what to call them. I can't think of the name right now. The prison guard type people that were like in there, that was adjacent to the barred door. And then you get it, like, whatever, that's locked obviously. So you go in there and there's like the layout of this, as soon as you get on that barred door, so on the right side, yeah, is like that office area, and then you can't access that obviously. And then so on the right side of this like, if you just think of this as the hall, in the middle on the right side there's like a cafeteria kind of area. There's like, I think 4 like metal picnic tables in there, a TV, that's where you would eat. And on the left side of the hallway, there's like the washroom and shower scenario, which I think there were open stalls for shower. I don't remember like a group shower thing, because I sure as heck that didn't happen with me. I don't remember if there was another area where there was more of a group shower thing, but it was just like there were open stalls, no curtains or anything. There was at least 2 from my memory. Anyway, and then there was like a room, like the hallway went off into one room, and then like 2 meters later, whatever, there's another room. And those rooms had bunk beds in them. So there was like, whatever, 8 people in one room and 7 in the other, or something like that. And yeah, so I was in that second room, and in that middle hallway too, there's 2 phones and chairs, 2 chairs. And that was the whole area, which is more room than I guess some people would get in a cell, right? But I guess there's like common areas there too. I don't know, I didn't access those parts of the facility. So anyway, I'm super anxious. I didn't even know what an anxiety attack was, but I was for sure in a heightened state of anxiety and didn't feel like I could breathe, and like it was just a mess. So first thing is, there was probably, I think there were 4 white dudes out of like the 15 to 20 of us there. There were 2 dudes who were in terror squad, I remember that, and being like, oh cool, like I'm in this overflow area and there's like rapists and killers, and then there's people who like didn't pay fines or stayed out at Tim Hortons past 10 o'clock. Like it's just a whole big mix. I wasn't in the room with the dudes in terror squad. I was in the other room, and it seemed like everything was a little more tame there. So there was yeah, like I said, there's only 4 white guys, and everyone else was Aboriginal except me. So I don't know, I kind of was like, oh, not being white right now might help me out, I don't know. Yeah, there was these 2 other dudes. Like, one was like, I don't know, he was in his young 20s, the other white guy, and then there was an old dude named Farmer, who was like, not that old, but he was probably in his like 40s, and this real scrawny, like Cletus looking guy. So those 2 got into a fight my first night there. Like, I couldn't sleep, I could barely breathe. Like I said, like, it was like in this heightened state of anxiety. I didn't recognize as anxiety at that point. I didn't know what was going on with me. I was on a top bunk as well, and underneath me there was a guy named Badger, which was his last name. And yeah, anyway, I was like, what do I do? Like, I don't even know what's happening. Like, what is this? Like, everything was so new and fresh, and I was scared, and it was a mess. And like I said, those two got into a fight the first night. I don't know what about. I don't recall. I just pretended to be asleep. It was scary and not fun. I mentioned, I don't know where to go from here. Like, it was, I feel, yeah, just recalling the story and stuff, you know, makes me anxious, and I'm thinking about it. I had a girlfriend at the time. I don't remember how long we were dating at that point, maybe a year. So they have two phones in the hallway that I mentioned. Now, there's like 15 to 20 of us. There's only two phones. That's a good way to pass the time. I don't think we had a time limit for the phone either, from what I recall. And I wasn't about to like fight over a phone or like whatever. There wasn't, other than that first fight in that room, there wasn't a lot of like aggression that I remember. I didn't really talk to anybody except for Badger, who was like around my age, and I don't know, just we were talking. I don't remember what he was there for. I don't remember, but I didn't really talk to anyone else. I remember I phoned Johnny. I got him to man, this is back when like I actually could memorize a number, because I barely had a cell phone at that point. So thankfully I remembered his number and my girlfriend's house number and my mom's number. So I mean, I called all those people to tell them what happened. I called Johnny. He brought me in some books. I remember I'd already read it's this series by Garth Nix, Sabriel and Lyriel. I had already read those, but I remember he brought those, and I read them again. He like brought me some CDs, like I had some burnt CDs. He brought me my Discman with some batteries. Like, he brought me that stuff, and it was like, I don't know, I'm thankful that he brought me that stuff. They wouldn't allow the burnt CDs in the prison, or for the correctional facility, which was interesting, but okay. And then, like, I think the first or second night my batteries got stolen, so I was like, oh cool, that's what happens. But no one stole my Discman. Like, I don't know, I had my stuff on my pillow. Like, it was kind of sketchy to bring that in, I guess, but I was like, what am I gonna do here for a week? That was the other thing that, yeah, like, what am I gonna do? Like, I tried to draw something at one point, and I just like couldn't even like draw. Like, if I had been there for way I then like maybe, I don't know, but I didn't know how long I was gonna be there. But like that during that week, I did not feel very creative. I had barely started doing anything art related anyway, other than like graffiti and tagging and whatever. But I mean, I could have, you know, drawn some pieces or something. I just didn't feel like it at all. Yeah, so I didn't do any writing, I don't think, either. It was just like, it was brutal, just trying to pass the time. Badger didn't have shoes, and he was like saving up money to get, like, I think he called them Bruce Lee slippers that you can get from correctional, because you could do jobs or whatever and you could get money and buy things. So anyway, he didn't have shoes, and I was like, hey, see if my shoes fit you, I'm not going out. So when everyone else, it was twice a day, I think for a half an hour, that you got to go outside, I didn't see the sun for a week, because I was like, yo, I'm gonna use the phone during this time, because I know that everyone else will be gone, and I'm just gonna chill here and use the phone. And they let me, like the prison guards or whatever, they never said shit. So I just stayed in when everyone else went, and I don't remember the times, but it was twice a day for about a half hour, and I just used the phone uninterrupted. Called my girlfriend, or called my mom, or called my buddy or whatever, and just passed the time. It was weird and awkward and sad and depressing and messed up. And the fact that I didn't see the sun that whole time probably didn't help. Just for like vitamin D or whatever, right? Like, it definitely didn't help my mood. But yeah, there was no windows or anything in the place where we were. I couldn't see outside. Yeah, so I mean, I showered maybe every other day. I don't even remember, like, I didn't do anything worth like showering about, if that makes sense. Like, I don't know. had a couple showers, read a bit, tried to draw one thing and didn't. Yeah, listen to music until my batteries got stolen. Talk with Badger, I guess, a bit. That was pretty much it. It was only a week. It was only a week, but it was a freaking horrible week. It was really brutal. It obviously, for perspective's sake, it was not that bad. But what was brutal was not knowing that it was just going to be a week. I guess I already ruined the ending, but like, like obviously there could have been way worse things happening. Like I said, I didn't get into any altercations with anybody. I didn't, you know, like nothing happened to me. I got a little scared the first night because there was a fight in the room. But I mean, like, I don't know, there wasn't a lot of intimidation. Like, no one paid me any mind for the most part, except for Badger, and him and I talked a bunch, and I don't remember many other conversations with people, and if I did have them, they were really short. So yeah, I was really fortunate. But anyway, it was just kind of like biding time for that week to be up so that I would go back to court. And when I went back to court, I didn't know at that time if I was going to get out or not. So I remember just being like, okay, it's over, like being positive and thinking like, okay, it's over, you know, this is it, I'm just going to get to go home after this. But I didn't know for sure. And this chance that might not be the way that it is was so overwhelming. It was just like, the whole time I was there, I was just in a state of anxiety and being overwhelmed. And I don't do well with being bored. Even then, being bored is the worst. So I mean, I try to keep a little busy, but I mean, whatever. Anyway, it was not fun. 0 out of 10 would recommend that experience. Anyway, so then we all get packed into a van, the people that have to go to court. After it's been a week for me, we head out. Yeah, we head out. We go to the provincial court in Saskatoon. They tell me that they're gonna let me out with $200 bail, and I was like, oh man, like, I don't know if my mom would actually do it for me or not. I just didn't know for sure. So yeah, she came through, put up $200 for my bail, and then I got out. It's pretty anticlimactic, but I was like I was just so, I didn't know, right? Like, I had no idea if that's what was going to happen or not. It wasn't too eventful, but that was my experience, and that was enough to be like, you know what? This isn't even worth it. Because at that point, I didn't know for sure if I was like done tagging or not. I was kind of like, man, I really don't think I can do it again, like get arrested again. Like, I kind of was more or less like, I think I'm done. But at that point, the consequences weren't that extreme. So I was like, you know, just be better next time. Don't, you know, trust anybody. Don't let anyone know anything, like whatever. Keep, you know, I never got caught red-handed. So it was just kind of like, you're smarter now, whatever. You can maybe do this and do that, and you would still get away with it. But yeah, after that little short stint in the correctional, I just decided, no, I'm not doing it again. I'm not, like, it was, yeah. And it's still something that tempts me to this day every once in a while. But it's not worth it. It really isn't. I don't know what the consequences would have been next time. I was in university. I was trying to do the right thing. That's not why. It's just what I wanted to do. I'm like, you can do both. Why can't you go to university and tag stuff up? Of course you can. But the consequences, the potential consequences, did not outweigh the risk wasn't worth it. Like I said, it was incredibly, it sounds really underwhelming because I'm like, what, nothing happened to you while you were there? Like, no, nothing did. But the anxiety over not knowing, am I just going to be stuck here for a month, for 2 months, for 6 months? Like, I had no idea what was going to happen to me. It was incredibly overwhelming, and I never want to feel that again. And I never have been in a situation like that again. At all. I mean, remembering it makes me feel kind of grateful. Like, every once in a while, I'm like, you know what? Like, especially if I watch a certain show or movie or something, I just like, I'm grateful to be able to go out and ride my bike. Or like, I'm great, like, you know, not only because the comparison of like not being able to be free, like physically being restrained like that is so different than all the other types of freedom there are, or like or imprisonment or whatever, like financial imprisonment, or there's so many other things, right, where I can't freely do exactly what I want to do all the time, which that's just life. But the physical restriction of not like I don't know how to explain it. Like the whole area that I got to walk was like smaller than the smallest house I've ever been in. Like, you know, it's there wasn't a lot of places to go, or freedom to go anywhere or do anything. And, you know, not living my life, just being put on pause like that was just, I don't know, like, and not knowing how long the pause button was going to be. I could keep harping on this forever, but I mean, it was just incredibly overwhelming. And yeah, that like scared me straight, I guess, in a way. Like I was like, it's not worth it. I'm not gonna risk this thing again, having this happen for even longer, or in a worse position. Like, no. It wasn't like I ever romanticized prison or correctional facilities before then. I had never been in one, like whatever. It wasn't anything that I was like, oh, maybe that'll be like fun. Like, no, never. And obviously not after this either. So that was my story about going to correctional for 1 week, just one, and nothing crazy happened to me at all. Nothing too crazy happened either in like that I had to witness either. So it wasn't crazy for me at all, and it was still enough to be like, no thanks. I'm just not gonna do anything. Like, yeah, anyway, that's it. That's